On to the fun part, the application of ethical theories. Now, remember that what's so important about ethics is that it touches on every facet of our lives. Every day we have to make ethical decisions. Like right now, do you stay inside or do you go partying with your friends? I think it's pretty obvious that the thing to do is stay inside if you can, unless you're one of our very wonderful and I love you grocery workers, like I know a lot of you are. Anyways, so we can do applied ethics when we apply moral theories to particular ethical issues, like the ones I gave you to work on for last week. So what we're going to do is what's called a case analysis. And on the previous slide, I give you guidelines for how you're going to do this. So listen carefully because you have to follow these guidelines exactly. Okay, so I'm going to be giving you cases, particular cases that have to do with one of the moral issues. And then you're going to have to analyze the case, right? And tell me what the answer is to this problem. All right? So the general form of this case analysis is what's written on the previous slide. So the first part of it is the summary. Brief, 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 just the facts, ma'am. You're going to give me a statement of the ethical dilemma. Is X morally permissible in this particular case? Then you're going to give me a very brief summary of the case, right? What's going on in the case? Very brief. Get the facts. Don't add anything. Don't take anything away from the case. And then 3, you're going to tell me who the stakeholders are in the case. So the members of the moral community who have a stake in this action. Who will be affected by it? That's part 1, the summary. Part 2 is the list of possible responses. And in most cases, the list of possible responses are going to be, yes, this is morally permissible, and no, this is not morally permissible. Easy peasy. That's section 2. Section 3 are the moral principles that you're going to apply to the case. The first one is going to be the one that you learned in class. This week it's utilitarianism. And your moral principle. Okay? And then for part 4, you're going to tell me your moral argument for the morality of this action in this particular case. Okay? So, if you agree with utilitarians in this case, then you're going to just demonstrate the utilitarian decision procedure and circle the optimific action if you agree with utilitarians. But then you have to give me your own moral principle, and it can't have anything to do with pleasure and pain because that's off the table, because then you're just copying utilitarians. I want you to think of your own moral principle that you can apply to this case. Part 5 is the wrong answer, right? So you're going to give me, if you disagree with utilitarians in this, then you demonstrate the utilitarian decision procedure, circle the optimific decision, right? And if you think utilitarians are wrong, you're going to argue against them. You're going to give me a modus tollens argument against them. And how this should go is whoever you're arguing against. If you're not arguing against utilitarians, but you're arguing against people who don't say that this is moral or immoral in the same way that you do, there we go. One, if X, where X is either utilitarians if you don't agree with them, or whoever thinks differently from you. If X is right, as in if they're correct about whatever they find, then what would have to be true, right? So if X is right, then Y would have to be true. Remember when we did this about Descartes, right? Remember? So if Descartes is right about the mind being divisible, indivisible, and the body being divisible, then Y would have to be true, whereas in that case, the Y was then no physical change in the body should affect the mind. But was he right about that? No. So it's not the case that Y, right? So remember, modus tollens goes if X, then Y, not Y. So, oh, it's going to be backwards. Sorry, I'm going to try and write this. Okay, here we go. This should be fun. If X is right, then Y would be, it's wrong again. What am I doing this wrong?